Hey everyone, I'm Jordan from New St. Andrews College. I'd like to invite you to join us for one of our upcoming prospective student weekends. We have one on March 2nd and 3rd, and another from April 13th to 16th. To learn more and to register your visit, check us out online at nsa.edu. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
And today we meet in my car.
Yeah, so I don't have my trusty seat heater.
There's no salad on the floor, but we could make fun of
No,
what
but
we
we're
do
both-
have in the car.
It's freezing cold outside. We're sitting here with our slippy, loud parkas on. So
Here, run in place. So now you know you have that baseline of what is happening in here.
if you hear the
Now,
crinkle
you'll
in
know.
the distance.
Then you'll know. I just told Becca that we were cleaning up our house today, and our back door had all these little dog smudges on it. So Chloe sprayed it with Windex, and the Windex just froze on the door. So now we have a big blat of frozen Windex stuck to the door.
I'm actually a little worried because we just got a hardcore, freeze, and it happened after so many weeks of kind of mellow weather.
I think it does this kind of thing a lot
Rach,
here.
I have tulip bulbs that are 4 inches up.
A lot of people do, though. Ours are too, and
I know.
I think it happens like this all the time.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I think it tricked the buds into kind of coming onto the trees, and then if it freezes, it's going to freeze them all
But
up.
we've lived here for a long time, and I've never seen a spring where nothing happened because it froze.
Have I talked about, though, my pear tree drama? Because I've had these two pear trees now for 4 summers.
I don't
maybe?
think you have talked about it, but please
Now
tell us about your pear tree
Fraught
drama.
with interest.
And maybe we could post a dry erase board shot of what year by year how has this drama developed.
Oh no, but I just mean when you first plant them, you're not going to get a big harvest out of it.
Yeah,
And I think
no.
I had one pear,
Yeah.
one little pear between the two trees. The next year, it was oh, ta-da. There we go. We had a nice little gathering of pears. Then the next year, one of them, nothing. Not a single, it didn't even blossom. And I went and spoke with the people at the nursery about it. And they said we had one weird late frost, which if the buds had come out, if they'd started to come, then it froze then. And because they weren't cross-pollinating, that meant the other pear tree got one little pear. And then the wind blew it off. It was very sad. This year I expect big things. Also, I planted a fig tree last year despite the dark warnings from the man at the nursery. I couldn't figure out why they were selling it though. Because, we're in North Idaho, so you wouldn't think a fig tree would have any real chance of success. But there they were. And it was called the Chicago fig that's supposed to be hardy in Chicago. And I figure if a fig tree can muscle it through in Chicago,
I would think it could
surely
do it here.
it can do it here. And the guy at the nursery was like, no, you're not going to be able to grow this. And I'm thinking, well, why do you have it, for heaven's sakes? And I went and looked it up, and I risked it. I planted it. So we'll see. We shall see.
Stand by for
I might be out there with a
episode
hair dryer on it
later.
Yeah.
Today, I need a new blow dryer, and I was at Marshall's, and I thought I'll check if there's any on clearance. Because why are blow dryers so expensive? They're either $4.99 or they're $98.
But I have another question about hair dryers.
Okay, well, I'll tell you that I was looking at one that was on
then
clearance.
I will make an observation.
Well, I thought I was looking at one that was on clearance.
Yeah.
I was like, why does this look like such a weird blow dryer? And it's $98, but then I saw it was a spray tanner. I thought, well, that would be a treat if I moved into home spray tanning. That would really do us all a favor. All right, so
that'd be really good.
Go ahead. What's your blow dryer
question?
question?
This is my question for the universe. Why is it that when you stay in a hotel, the shampoo is always terrible, universally terrible? You can't get it to suds at all. But the the
I don't think of it. I don't think it does it suds. I feel like
Yeah, it's just
if
kind
you're
of like-
driven to such lengths that you have to use that,
yeah.
it is like all the skin that came into contact with it shrinks a lot. You get really
that's
dry.
Not, like you think it's like an ivory soap bar that you're putting. No,
Yeah.
it's just like nothing happens when you use the shampoo.
Okay.
But now that, the airlines have gotten so stingy about our liquids, it's like, do you want to pack a
Yeah.
hairspray or do you want to pack a shampoo? And it's
hard.
like, if you
Hard
know there's
times.
going to be a shampoo in the hotel, then you can skip that liquid. But they're universally horrible. But the hair dryers are always like 3 times better than your home one.
Oh,
Why?
I think it's because it's damaging your hair and it doesn't care.
I don't know, but it's like,
It just is like
It's
sticking
like
your
a-
head in a major like it's like
I know,
gets it done
it's
really
like
fast.
a great roar, and then
Yeah.
suddenly your hair is dry,
Like,
and you're
oh,
like,
magic.
why can't I invest
I'm
in one
pretty
of
sure
these?
we would all be big frizzle heads if we were using those every day.
I don't know, because
Yeah.
I'm growing my hair out again. It's like a constant battle. But anyway, I'm growing it out, and I'm starting to remember what a pain in the neck it is to dry my hair, because it's like 20 minutes to get
Oh,
the
man.
stupid thing to dry.
So I had something that I thought that we should talk about.
Good.
We might not have very much to say about it, but I
Probably
still
more than we have to say about hair dryers.
Oh, we could
Maybe
keep going
not.
on that. I
we
don't know.
could just muse
So-
indefinitely on the hair dryers.
So, once recently, someone sent me, I think it was my sister-in-law, sent me that. I see them come around periodically. The 50s, the tips for a 50s wife.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
So it's like, try to have the children looking clean before your husband comes home. And it's like,
Put on a fresh apron and
look pretty.
comb your hair.
Get your lipstick on.
Dust everything and get his slippers
Have
out.
his slippers ready. Make sure he has, 20 minutes of quiet after he gets home. And it's a lot of stuff that seems to be for high achieving women of the 50s, where it was like, wow,
It's a little
because
dismal.
yeah, it's like it is, but it's like a lot of the thing that I just think is interesting about it is it's a list of things that if you read it as requirements is like horrible bondage. Like,
Well, it also was kind of like,
but you know what I'm saying? Like, you read it like you have to do all of this because you're the slave and you have to have a
No,
pretty
it's
lipstick on and you have to
it's
do
not the
this.
slave. It's just they had such a low view of women. Like,
But I'm
of
not
their
here's let me
capabilities.
get to that before we get there. I don't think that is a low view of women. But I'll tell you what I'm trying to
certainly
say.
got there.
This was shared upon the interwebs, Facebook probably. So what I see on this little thing is like thousands of comments. And if you look at the tone of the comments, you think, oh,
I can imagine.
so
the
all
tone
of you are the
comments.
worst person to be married to ever. Because like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
read this list that's like a suggestion for overachieving women of the 50s, overachieving in one particular way, not in all of the ways. Just like here's a precision housewife of the 50s. Then the comments are all these people being like, ha, I blow my nose on my husband. As though I would ever do more for him than that. He doesn't deserve it.
I throw something at him when he comes home.
Yeah, no, it's just like,
Just to
if he
indicate.
thinks I'm going to make him dinner, he has something coming. And you're like, oh, my word. And then people, tons of the comments were like snark fests about that's why he's my ex now. Like,
Oh yeah.
really,
And
the
you're like,
response was
you
amazing.
Sure showed those 50s.
Yeah, you
marriages.
sure showed those 50s ladies how to have a happier life. Like, they're doing the I spit upon his grave moves about your husband. And it's like so, I have issues and concerns with the 50s version. Like, I'm not like, I don't feel like this is it. This
Yeah.
is golden.
No.
But at least it had the dignity of aiming for
Pretending,
harmony
yeah.
in the home.
Yeah.
And things like your husband enjoys seeing his children well cared for and
Right.
whatever. And you're like, well, I'm a far cry away from that list of achievements. When Luke comes home,
I think
That's not what he
I haven't
gets.
looked at that particular list, but I've seen enough of them that it's kind of like, don't talk to him about work. Sort of like, don't worry your pretty little head about that. And he doesn't want to have to talk to you about it. So just make bright, cheery conversation about trite nothings. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I think this particular one was more on the like, don't dump all your problems on him as soon as he comes home.
See, lots of those things are like, actually, if you, like you're saying, if you view them as your to-do list,
it's miserable.
it's
It's horrible.
But if you take anything, like let's say that you're planning a fun Christmas surprise for your husband, if you take that fun Christmas surprise that you would actually be really excited to give him, but you turn it into a checklist of to-dos,
No,
you
they're
can
like
make it
3
awful in
weeks
no time.
before Christmas. Get all of these. Like if you put everything, instead of I get to do this fun thing for someone.
Yeah,
it is
because
like,
I love him and
here's what
because-
you have to do.
yeah.
Or you think about like a kid's birthday party. Like you have to go buy assorted sprinkles.
First, you have to study what they would be interested in.
Study them, and then ask them what they would prefer you make them for their dinner, and then do the appropriate shopping for that. Oh no.
I think Rachel's car just ran out of gas right here in the stationary place. Did it run out
I
of gas?
think it probably did, because I was like, oh, but the heater's
I'm
on,
so
guys.
glad
The
that
heater's
everyone
on.
could be here when we ran out of gas. Guys, we brought you along on a fun field trip.
On our journey, our podcasting
Rach, are we
journey.
gonna have to like roll the car down the hill?
No, we couldn't get to a gas station. We're gonna have to call.
We're gonna have to call for reinforcements.
Because we could roll our way down to Goodwill and then siphon some gas off of someone.
there's a cop down there. I see a cop.
We might get
Flag him
arrested.
down.
Anyways, we'll deal with that trouble when
Yeah.
we get there. But
Basically, when we start to get cold, that's when I
I
envision.
know. So, anyways, my point was just that the difference between a get to and a got to is profound. Like looking at your duties as things that you get to do to bless your family, and you get to be the person who gives them this kindness and this joy and this whatever, is very, very different than being the person who's like, I have to do all of this.
Yeah,
for them.
but to be fair, when you script something that often is more spontaneous and done out of love, when you do script it and turn it into a list, you are kind of asking for people to respond badly.
Yeah, I agree. Although I do think some of those, I don't know if they're actually historic things.
No, and to be honest, I think a lot of them are totally made up. Like, somebody remembered having seen one of those lists one time, so they made up their own version of it. Just to make the 50s ones look terrible, you know, but I know that it was like in home ec textbooks, that kind of thing. You can find some of these little lists, but they, yeah, if you put it in the wrong context, they really are kind of terrible about women. But if you were to be thinking, like, what's something that you could do that would be kind to your husband, you know.
Well, one thing that would be kind for your husband is if you text him, ran out of gas behind Goodwill while podcasting. That's one of the ways I like to bless my
We do,
husband.
just as a little sweet surprise. I'm glad that you're going to try and, like, referee this situation on the podcast.
Well, I
This
actually
is
was
good.
thinking, what if we are getting cold? What if we need
We
to?
will.
Well, yeah,
We will
we're
get
gonna have
cold.
to get
We're
cold.
gonna have to step out
It's
into
like a
the blizzard.
survivalist moment up here.
It is.
Yeah. So no, that was a thing that I just was on my mind, that when you see those things, and it's not that I'm not really interested in side by siding what women of the 50s were doing with what we're doing, but I am disgusted by the ricochet response. The
so funny.
Where it's like, what? You think you should look cute? They're like, you know what I do? I intentionally look my worst for when my husband comes home. And that's why we have not been married.
It's for sure that the women of today, with their sort of thuggish snarls, are not.
Isn't that like a new feminist wave to
Yeah.
like be ugly and hideous?
Yeah, like those little groups that, I'm ugly and obscene or whatever.
Or fat and
fat
ugly?
and ugly. What
And-
is it? They have some little slogan like I'm fat and
I don't know, dastardly.
and I spit.
Oh, it's like I'm fat and ugly and not apologizing to anyone for that because it's my favorite. You know what I mean? There was a thing
Yeah.
at U of I about it. Now I can't remember, but there
No, that's what I'm trying to remember,
There
too.
were signs around the town like inviting us to some fat and ugly women's event
Yeah,
to
no, but it
show
was
how
literally
powerful
that.
we are. Yeah,
Right.
like no, they weren't hiding that.
No.
That wasn't
Don't hide your light under a bushel.
no, but instead
Sound
really
your
shine.
barbaric yawp into the world.
Is that what else?
No,
Where'd
that's
you-
Walt Whitman.
Oh, right, Barbara. I'm like, okay, I just read a Woodhouse recently that I just happened upon a paperback that I had not. It wasn't one of his best. I think it was Return of Jeeves or something. It just was. It was fine. It was Woodhouse, but
Yeah.
it was not one of the real zingers. Still, I got so tickled by his. Somebody and it's getting nostalgic for the times when butlers were really butlers, and he was like how he remembered in his youth before the war when the butlers were all weighing in at 250 pounds on the hoof. And I was like, oh, he's just so good.
Yeah,
He's
that's
so
awesome.
oh, it's good. But anyways, that wasn't his best one. And now I need to read one of his best ones because like Blandings are always impossibly good.
Right now I'm reading Leave It to Smith, which I think I've recommended before, but I'm reading it because I am doing a honors class for my Brit Lit where we just work our way through some of the Woodhouse, but basically tracking down all of his quotes because it's just constant quotes. So I'm going through it on my
He
Kindle.
does. The one that I know from him is the lark is on his wing, the snail is on his thorn, God is in his heaven, and all is well with the world, or all is right with the world. But I know that quote, that famous poetry quote, from having run into it so many times in
Yeah.
Woodhouse.
The embarrassing part was when I would recognize things in the Bible.
The Bible because of Woodhouse. Because he's big. Well, the only reason we all know Jael was the wife of Heber is
yeah.
because of Woodhouse. Because
yeah.
you know Jael, but he would always say
Jael,
Jael, the wife of Heber.
Well, I'm tracking down all of these quotes right now, and I'm doing it on my Kindle so that I can just have the notes permanently in my
How clever of you.
version of it. So I am working through Leave It to Smith, and although it is one of my faves, I have not read it in a long time,
Yeah.
and it is really
Isn't it Leave It to Smith is the one of the ones Woodhouse was successful. It was Smith. Was it Leave It to Smith though? Probably. Was that when Smith enters as a character, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
I
Woodhouse
believe so.
Woodhouse was a talented author, but from what I remember, there's a lot of agreement about what page in what book he found his real muse, and
Yeah.
it is Smith.
Is it?
It is the character of Smith being so impossibly funny
Yeah.
that it was like, I was thinking about that when I was reading him, because what he is so clever about is the characters who are so witty because of who he met. You know, like it's the funny personalities who are then funny from a ridiculous position. Like it's like he has.
Well, and I think actually, if you've read any Woodhouse, he's got different sets of characters and stuff. And of course, the Bertie and Jeeves ones are famous, but I think the Bertie ones are actually kind of genius just because he is narrating first person as Bertie. Mm-hmm. And so to be like simultaneously narrating the story, but also be such a ninny. Like the ninny is the narrator, and so you're hearing it through his voice, but he manages to do it in a way that you're laughing at the narrator, which is actually a somewhat clever, writing technique. So here we sit in the chill, in the cold midwinter,
We're still doing pretty good.
sitting
I think.
up on a hill.
Yeah, being glamorous in Idaho.
Yes.
Yeah. Becca should have made fun of what I have in my car, because we're not usually in my car.
No, we're not
but
usually.
I have a Nerf gun on hand.
in case you need it.
I have that. I have a spool of red raffia, and a clip-on tie that belonged to Moses.
And a
He
Sharpie. I spy a
layered-
Sharpie.
Yeah, we like to keep those wherever we go so we can just help out.
Yeah.
And,
graffiti it up.
Moses this is a tie that he put on himself. It was at Christmas. I got him a tie for Christmas because not to wear Christmassy. But the other week we were like on our way out to church. I think he found it and put it on because I looked back on our way and there he was with his plaid tie on around, like he had like a flannel shirt and a sweatshirt and then a tie, and it's like, oh dear. But he kills me right now. When he goes to bed, he's been keeping a harmonica in his bed.
Oh my word.
And when we put him to bed, we hear it's really quite bluesy. It's very and he's in there in the dark playing a bluesy harmonica riff while it's so funny
That's
that
awesome.
I'm like, but it is he's showing some kind of a natural talent for the harmonica because I did not believe it was him. You know, like I was like, who is doing that? And then
kind of some sounds
but it
of
just
New Orleans.
yes.
Drifting out
It tickles
in the back
me so
bedroom.
hard that he's in there in his crib with his little blankets and like a stuffed dinosaur. Just pounding out some blues. It's good.
That's
but
great.
he's kind of our all-around entertainment. I mean, he's just nonstop.
That's
and he
too
said
funny.
in church a little while ago there was a song that the choir was singing, and he turned to me and said, "Mama, I don't like this song."
It's like, you know what this needs? A little
bluesy
riff.
harmonica needs to come into this. And he's sometimes super godly during church and super pious and praying along and like just right with it. He gets a little charismatic and points out all the people around us and says that they're washed in the blood and whatever.
Yeah.
But then we get to it's like he just suddenly says, "I am Batman." We're like, we lost our spiritual moment here. But he, the trouble with that, I think is interesting, is that he doesn't know anything about Batman or Superman or Iron Man, and he doesn't need to know anything about them to have his imagination completely, like, it's a remarkable thing about little boys. Like, that just the suggestion of Spider-Man is enough to last them a long time. Like,
Oh yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's
like,
who I
could
am.
go far with this.
I know what that's about, but I've never seen any of it or anything. I just know, I intuit that this is for me. This is a thing I care about.
That is really funny. Oh my word! So I like that we were kind of beginning to pedal our way up to speed on a topic when we
When we
ran out
literally
of gas,
and figuratively ran out of gas.
and that, as far as I can tell, killed our train of thought that we were having about 50s housewives.
Is that Luke
I think I see Luke in the distance.
turning into Goodwill?
Yeah.
Should I honk at him?
Well, if you really want to add that level to what we're doing.
Oh, look, no, he's going to the back of Goodwill. Because you know he doesn't have
like,
his phone.
Get up there.
He doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't have his phone. Are we gonna have to get out and wait?
We're here at a vista so we can see my husband not finding us. So
I think he's.
is that him?
That is him.
Oh, he's going to the exit. I thought he was going the wrong way. I think he saw us.
I think so. Your honk was
He's
really
clever like that.
definitive.
Well, yeah, he knows which way we are. Do you think we should pause the recording?
No, why don't we?
I
just
think we
welcome
should.
Luke
It's just
in?
the worst. I think he has. I think he'll have a word for us.
This is the funniest.
We had to call in our extraction team from this on this podcast.
Oh wow! Now you're going to find out we're not really out of gas. But
Oh,
this is
no.
the engine died. No,
it's definitely out
snorting.
of gas.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for being the 911. Oh my
That's
word.
right. Yeah. Well,
That
this
is
has
so
got to be our
funny.
worst
This
podcast.
It is. Oh boy.
Oh, dearie. Can we
Yeah.
just stop the recording
Yeah, we
here?
can,
I
we
feel
can.
like we've really moved. So we had to gather our thoughts, and
We had a hiatus.
we're back, but
A day late and $1 short.
we're now at night in Becca's car
It's
on a
new
different day.
New outfits. You can't believe the sad, dilapidated section we just edited out because...
Well, or we were hoping that Jemima said.
Well, when I say we edited it out, it still has yet to be done. But
we gave up on ourselves podcasting. I told
was-
Becca it was like some people who were really bad at playing ping pong. So most of the time was rummaging around in the back of a storage
No.
closet for the lost ball. Like, I remember a section where Becca said, "Why don't you tell him about your sugar cookies?" And she said, "Because Valentine's Day is coming." And we were like, "Nope, that passed."
I was like,
And then it was like
already.
a long pause before I said something like, "I don't dip them."
We had
I sometimes make a frosting.
The thing was,
I frost them.
you were all with us as we ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And then as it began to straggle on and we weren't sure where Luke was.
I think we must have been on our last leg anyways at that point because there was no recovering.
I was trying to keep the conversation merry and
Apparently
bright.
I wasn't doing my part.
Rachel was not. I would be like, "So, Rachel, tell me about..." And she would give me a flat face and she would say...
It's my favorite emoticon, the flat face emoticon.
I don't make sugar cookies like that.
The flat face emoticon is my favorite one because it speaks to so many different occasions.
It does.
It really.
But I'm just saying, she gave me her real flat face yesterday. And
That might
then
be why I like it. It speaks of a face I make.
Then after we got the gas, and then we went to the gas station, and then we gassed all the way up, and then we tried to go again, and that time we were... how would you describe us?
I think it was just
Reckless.
negligent podcasting.
It was both reckless and negligent. Both of those things.
Nothing about it was okay, so
No.
we quit.
No, we were
We
talking
quit
about
and we
logic
came back.
and logical fallacies, and what was mostly, I thought, evident was that both of us should have brushed up on our
On our logic.
on our facts before we
We're
launched
like,
that.
why
Like-
did you offer us to lead a logic lecture, Becca? Does
No.
anyone have the square of opposition on
I
hand?
think you're getting a phone call now.
Oh, oops.
Yeah, that's
I
your
am.
phone. No, we didn't quite go there. We were kind of hitting some informal fallacies, and I think there's a good lot of stuff to say there, but I think we didn't quite nail that. So
I think we should
we're
freshen
gonna
up.
save it for another
We should
time.
sometime when we're more spry.
Yeah,
Right now
so,
we're drinking
whew.
the evening coffee.
Evening coffee. I had left a whole pile of freshmen at my house eating soup and bread and honey butter and snuck out. Although, you know what they brought me tonight?
What?
A huge industrial rice cooker
Oh, I knew that. I
with
sent
a
them
bow
the
on
link.
top.
I sent
Did
them
you?
the link for that.
Oh.
That was sweet of
What
them.
little angels they are. They all came and they brought this giant rice cooker, and I'm so pleased. Next
That's
week I'll
pretty-
have to make them something with
That is
rice
pretty fun.
involved in it.
So, Moses, I have to tell you this because it was tickling me. I'm like, this is why this is an exhausting phase of personhood.
Okay.
It's an excellent phase, but very funny. When he and I are the only ones in the car, and this is a conversation. Is that car going that way, Mama? And I'm like, yep, that car's going that way. That car is going that way, Mama. I'm like, mm-hmm. He's like, our car's going this way, Mama? And I'm like, yep, our car's going this way. And he goes, yay! Yay! Our car's going this way, Mama. Our car's going this way. And I'm like, it is going this way. We're going this way in our car. We're doing it. And then it's like, is our car going to school, Mama? And I'm like, yep, we're driving to school. You're driving our car, Mama? It's like, yes, I am driving our cars. Yay! You're driving our car to school, Mama. And then by the time that I get to the end of the day, I feel like I've talked it out.
Yeah.
I have talked it all out. And Moses is a big narrator right now in all times. So my life is narrated consistently.
Yeah.
It's good.
It
But
is.
you
It's
see
awesome.
how you run out of sparkling wit after.
After you run out of gas, you run out of sparkling wit.
I think it just gets used before anyone else has access to it.
The depths have been plumbed.
Oh,
So
pretty much. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
anyway, so moving on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new day, a new episode, new thought,
Okay.
new.
Are you about to
all
have
the
one?
Things. Well, here's the thing. Yesterday, I did my best. I brought out some subjects. You gave me the flat face emoticon. So
So tell me one of them now, and let's see how
no,
I feel.
you.
I think this is getting unwholesomely blamey.
Well, maybe we might have pulled out a blame or two, but why did you just had something? You were just talking about it. We had to go get gas, everyone in my car, because
She was worried.
what would be not good would be to run out twice in one episode.
Dual running out of gas.
So anyway, we got gas, and while we were driving,
so you wanted to know what I was
you
going
were
to talk about.
talking about something, and you said you had it.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before.
Okay,
but
well,
whatever,
talk
I'm bringing
again.
it up.
Bring it up now.
And if I recall, since we're getting into blaming,
Good.
when I earlier
Please.
said we should talk about this, you said, meh. Which is why
Well, how
I
about
didn't
this?
bring it up.
I'll give my flat face, and you talk about it.
So, what it was that the thing that we tell our children, I think I've said this on here before, but I think it's worth exploring,
Okay.
is that you have to first be really good at being bad at things. So,
Okay.
step one. Because, as I tell them, if you're bad at being bad at things, even when you get good at it, you'll still be bad at it.
No, it's not the truth.
So the point is, we want to be good at being bad, and then we'll be good at being good at something.
So unpack what you mean by
Well, it could be
That.
any area, but like in general, like just it's a good sportsmanship kind of a thing. Like you need to be good at being bad at a new thing that you're trying. So one thing that Luke and I think is really funny is whenever, so like this was a couple years ago, we put a Foursquare thing in our driveway, and we started playing Foursquare with the kids. And
okay.
it was amazing because we didn't know how many kids there were in our neighborhood.
Oh,
But they came from everywhere.
Okay.
By hill and by land and by sea, they came to us. And it was the attraction of parents playing a game with the kids.
okay.
Like, it was a lot of hubbub. But every time it's like a new sport or a new thing, it's a whole new palette of temptations for everyone.
Oh, for sure.
So we would be like, okay, so now we taught you to play Foursquare and you are all enjoying it. And now we have to face head on all of the temptations that come with Foursquare, which you didn't even know you had. Of claiming it was 2 on the line for much longer than anyone should claim that. Or, those sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like whatever things. Or somebody getting teary when they got out, when
Well,
they were
okay.
almost to the... So we had like a lot of funny new things to deal with. But not just with that, just with anything. I just mean something new comes up, and it is really, really easy to be bad at being bad at it.
Well, one random example is I remember when Knox was little, so just starting to walk or whatever. And we'd been already working on being tough with him. So if you fall down and whack your head, we would let him cry, but then it's like, okay, time to blow it out, time to suck it
Yeah.
up. You're going to be done. So we'd been working on that. And he'd actually gotten really pretty good at it. It's like he'd fall, whack himself, get bruised, conked, whatever. And he was doing pretty good at blowing it out. And I remember the first time that he fell down outside on the sidewalk and skinned his
And
knee
got
or his
blood.
elbow.
Got blood from the
Totally
occasion.
different kind of pain. And it was a full meltdown, and it was so funny because I was like, what's happening? Like, he's really been good at being tough, but it's a different kind of pain, and you have to deal with that.
Actually, my kids, I always notice it was the first time they get a burn. because it's the one that doesn't stop annoying you. Like, it keeps on hurting. Yeah. Anyways, my
Different kinds of pain, different kinds of trials.
Right. It's like anything. You have to be good at being bad at something. Like the fact that you don't know how to do it or you don't know how to whatever. But it applies in all of life. It's like having a good attitude about being a beginner.
Yeah.
Is a thing that...
Because you have to cope with embarrassment or patience or
like, should I...
expectations.
Or I think of like you're just had a first baby. And you're like, you don't know what you're doing. You have to be good at being bad at it. Like, meaning you're learning quickly from your mistakes. You're being joyful in the Lord when you don't understand what... like, you are being good at... it helps so much. But I think there's a ton of things in the Christian life or just in your life. Like, if you think, okay, I need to be feeding my family, but I've never thought I was a good cook. And it's like...
Or hospitality. Sort of... Like, you have to be willing to just jump in.
You have,
take the plunge.
You have to be good at being bad at it. Yeah. And one of the things that I will say, I have done a lot of hospitality in my life. And I am not a beginner on that front. It's not like, oh, this is something I've never done before. But it is got to be like more than 50% of the time that I am trying to not apologize about something or be like the amount of time that I am really pleased with how everything came together is very marginal. Like, marginal. And I think, but I just mean, I am experienced, but you could still be, I
think the thing is, if you ever got to the point where you could just smugly rest on your laurels,
then you'd
not
be
listening. Insufferable.
But you're not listening to what God wants you doing.
Yeah, because like hopefully you're pushing a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, and every time you're like, wow, that was a wobble. Woo, that was close. Oh, okay, I'm not going to try that again. All right. Like you just keep...
Or sometimes it's just not coming together in time, and you're like, oh, well, snap. There you go. That's what I did. Did that.
The freshmen who are currently at my house, they are long suffering because there have been several nights where we're like, well, the bread's being weird. We're going to throw that away. Knox is running to the store. He'll be back with French bread shortly, so everybody hang tight. Like, I can't remember what the bread did. It was like soupy inside or something. It was some weird bread fiasco. And it's like, you just have to...
Just life.
Take a few smooths with the rough.
But I think that's the thing is that's being good at being bad at it.
Yeah.
In such a way that when it's all coming together, you won't be insufferable.
Yeah, because
you know that there's real life out there.
People who are smug about their own accomplishments. It's not good.
No, and I always think of Chloe. She was a couple of years ago, but it was just so funny. It was such a vivid moment, and I always think of needing to channel her energy in this moment. I was bathing someone in the tub, and she came in and somehow leaned on the shower curtain or something. The shower curtain rod fell on my head, and it was it was like a lightweight one, but you know how they always have springs in them, so it makes an amazing noise when it bonks you on the head.
Yeah,
did not hurt me, but there were metal sliding hooks on it, so they all leapt off of it as it crashed and scattered on the tile floor. So it was an incredible noise.
Yeah,
and surprise, like just this like loud, and I was just there on my knees. And I looked at her, and she's this cute little thing, and she tugs her hair behind her ears and says, well, that happened. And it's just like this Shazam of like all this noise and crack on the head and crazy. And
the thing is, like it's always the most unexpected weird problem that's going to hit you because... Oh man, one time really early in our marriage, like I don't know if we had any kids yet or if it was just right. It was when having 2 people to dinner seemed like a big thing, And I think it was 2, maybe 3 people that we were having to dinner. I was making artichokes steaming them, and I didn't have a steamer. And somehow my pot, it was not big enough to have the lid all the way on. And you kind of need the lid on for the steaming action, because it was like the artichokes.
What kind of a life were you living where
Yeah.
you didn't have a pot big enough
It was
for
like
4
five.
artichokes?
It was like 5 artichokes or something, and it seemed like a big pot at the time. But
Yeah.
But anyway, then it didn't quite, like, it would mounded up too high or something. And I think we were having 4 or 5 people to dinner. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I had this big, heavy earthenware mixing bowl, like a big, heavy one. That was kind of had that like fleckly paint on the outside,
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll just turn that over on top of the stock pot as a lid so that it was big and domed.
Clever.
And so I had that, and it was like everyone was there in the living room, and I went in to check on the artichokes, and I grabbed my pot holders, and I had one mitt on my left hand and then just a pot holder in my right hand, and I picked up that bowl. And my fingers on the right, went inside the bowl because I was not thinking about the steam. I was only thinking about just fried my hand so hardcore. And I flung the bowl like really high and far. and then managed to catch it. Like, I threw the thing up, and then I managed to catch it, set it down, and I had like scorched the skin off of like all my fingers and the back of my hand, like not the whole back, but a good bit of it. And so I kind of run it under cold water for a minute, which I think is not what you're supposed to do, but anyway, it was a bad burn. So then I kind of went out in the living room, and I was like, "Hey, Ben, could you come here for just 1 second?
Because I might be about to pass out in the kitchen."
And he comes in, and I was seriously like, I was getting like weird, like lightheaded and whoopy and strange. And all through dinner, I was like, I couldn't. And I didn't say anything to anybody about this ridiculous burn on my hand. And I'd be like, I'll just be back. I had to like go lay down on the bed because I was getting like queasy. Like, it was really bad. And I didn't mention it at all. And I ate with my left hand through like the whole dinner. And then, it was horrid. And then I had to go like into the doctor,
so
and they had to
bad.
do this awful burn control on my hand. It was terrible. But it was a hardcore burn. But
So-
anyway, I'm just saying, it's never the thing you planned on
No,
being
you weren't
the
expecting that.
hospitality hurdle.
Do you
that
remember
you've gotta
when?
get over.
So when Piper came for Gray's Agenda, and Mom,
yeah,
we're having a big Sabbath dinner at Mom's house with the
John
Pipers
and Noel Piper
and
yeah.
the Chesters from England.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of other people, so it was a big dinner.
Big dinner, yeah.
And Mom got sick. She
got
her
vertigo.
she got her like weird inner ear. Yeah, she
Yeah.
got like a vertigo. She couldn't even.
Which she'd like never had before. Got like
it was
super
like, it was
dizzy.
some kind of, I feel like it was a viral related thing because she was whatever, but she couldn't even deal.
No, couldn't
So
even stand up.
she had prepared enough in advance that she asked us, Luke and I, we just came over to try to kind of help get dinner on the table and get everything going. But that was a little bit of chaos because this was a couple years ago, so we had, it must have been Shad who was really little, but it was like, we had a bunch of little kids, and there were a lot of people, and we were hoofing it around trying to throw together somebody else's dinner party. And, but while, like leaving, I just remember this moment was so good. While leaving, like, Shad in the high chair, with a roll, Luke and I are like running around trying to gather up the whatever, blasting off. I don't even know what we ate, but it was a funny time. And we were like, Luke, come do this, and then I'll run over here. And then we're like, kids, don't stop, sit down, whatever. It was chaotic. Where we were seated, Bill and Diane Garraway were there, and Diane was telling Mrs. Chester, her first name, I can't remember her name, but she was telling her about her kids being surfers. Mm-hmm. And the Chesters are from England and had lovely accents, but Luke and I were not tracking with the full conversation. Not at all, because we were like running upstairs to, whatever, come back down. Well, Luke comes and sits down, and he's been there for nothing up until, missed it all. And Mrs. Chester just turns to him and says, I can't possibly imitate her accent, but it did sound exactly like she said, "Are you a server?" Because she said, "Are you a surfer?" But he didn't know we were talking about surfing, and he had missed that entire intro. So he just comes down and sits down, and she looked at him and says, "And are you a server?" And bless him, he said, "Yes, what can I get for you?" And you think she's like, what is wrong with this guy? I say, "Are you a surfer?" And he's offering me drinks.
That's awesome.
Anyways, it took us a little while to get out of that one, but I did love it so much, and it was like, yes, well, I guess I am a surfer. That's what I'm doing here.
That's funny.
Yes.
Anyway,
but Mom, meanwhile, was just sick in her
Flat on her
bed.
back,
Yeah, not fun.
yeah, but I just think you're right about like having to just kind of wade into it and be okay with not being necessarily the A++
No, but
all the times.
No, but see, this is the thing that I think it's a really practical and ongoing way to be offering your life to the Lord.
But also
Because every time you have another chance to be like, this is not about me.
But it's also continuing to aim for the A+. Because I really dislike the people that decide whatever C- is all that any of us ever aspire to, and then shuffle around and and they talk about being transparent and authentic.
I actually think it's more that if you're doing as much with your life as I hope you are, that we should be maxed out most of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what I mean about shooting
But I
for
mean,
A+.
we've talked about this. I
and
mean
being
by
okay
maxed out.
with not hitting it.
Yeah, but the A+ is in more categories than dinner party execution. It's like how kind you were to everyone, how much you did not snip and whip at your husband about something before the event, how well you handled it when someone said something rude to you or did something, like how well you just there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But I think it's an ongoing way to know because there's a deadline. People show up.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, here it goes. This is as close as I'm getting to, whatever.
Oh, my word.
Here it is. I just think it's a good ongoing way to be, to be offering your work to the Lord because you have to not care about yourself in it.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing you're probably leaning against is people who care about themselves not trying. Like like there's
where it turns
too cool
into
for school.
No,
is
it
what
becomes
it
a kind of smug attitude that I don't try. It's a way of making yourself superior to the people who try.
Yeah, but it's being too cool for school. It's like I can't try hard. I would never care.
It's like the kid who starts bragging about getting the worst grade in the class.
Yeah.
Those kids. I think that there is a funky tendency among women to do that very thing, where it's like, enough with
it's
this
just like,
aspirations.
I'm not one of those kinds of ladies.
I'm one of these people that you might just come over and
I don't know.
find me-
I kind of joke about my decorating style. I say is family realism. And I'm saying,
Okay.
but I think it's because I've had to find a place that I like design, but I like my family more than I like design, and you just need to make do with what you have and can. The way that I make our home look is not about my design portfolio. It is about how are you doing with what you can do with what you have, with how you try to bless people around
I think
you.
all you're saying, and I'm saying both, is you have to figure out where your temptation is and where your tendency is, and you have to learn how to lean against letting yourself just gallop down whatever path is easiest for you. And there's some people who have so much pride and vanity wrapped up in the way their house looks that actually they need to lean against that. They need to be willing to sacrifice
have
things.
people come over when it's not awesome.
But there's other people who actually tend more on the lazy spectrum of not caring, not trying, and what they might need to be doing is leaning against that part. And so I just think that it's a matter of of seeing where your own weaknesses and where your own temptations are, and really trying to struggle against it, you know? Because
Yeah.
I don't think that there's one sort of...
I don't know. I think wherever you are, it's not the same. Like, I think I don't struggle with things that I used to struggle with. Now it's like when I'm talking about design. That back in the olden days when I really thought I was into design, when I was in it in a different way than I am now. I was in it as a person who could turn all the right lights, and nobody was messing it up.
Right.
It was just my space.
Right.
And I liked that. And so, God, it was a very sanctifying journey for me to not be able to do that in my life. Like, to not be able to have everything the way that I wanted. Like, and still be being a decent human and mother. So that was that was sanctifying. Now, I don't even feel like that's even on my radar of things that I'm...
Sure.
Because it's a whole other set
But I'm just saying God sandpapers different corners on all of us, because we're all differently...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're differently jagged. And so, some people who prefer to live life kind of weltering
you could give yourself
in the
a test. A
crummy
test
laundry pile.
A test would be like, what is the worst case scenario for you? Like, and is it people seeing that you have some unfolded laundry?
Right.
It's like worst ever. Or is it people
Having to fold the laundry.
or is it people knowing that you tried to make a beautiful tart? Like, we wouldn't want anyone to know that I did that. That would be so embarrassing. Or if they thought I cared about the food, they would make fun of me. And then they would, like, it's all different for everybody. But I guess I just think that whatever you're called to do, like if it's feeding people, if it's hospitality, if it is just whatever, be good at being bad at it first. Like, just start out with practicing that skill.
And while you're being good at being bad at it, work on getting good at it.
Yeah, because you have a lot of opportunities, and you have to just be reasonable about what it takes to actually learn skills.
Yeah.
Like, they don't happen overnight.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
I like a view in my...
We're looking in at Rachel's house, and Shadrach is throwing things in the house. It's very cute.
There was a Christmas in my life where I really wanted to start smoking. It was like,
oh yeah, I remember this.
Are we going over time?
Mm-hmm, probably.
Are we? Should we stop talking?
Yeah, we should stop talking.
This is reminding me of it because it was a very, very, very intense time because the twins were like a month old, and a lot of family came to town, which was great. But we had this little house, and it had a breakfast nook with a big window in it, and some of the aunts and uncles pooled their resources and gave the kids a bouncy castle. And I remember actually walking out the front of the house. It was in a moment where I probably felt like what I really needed in life was a cigarette. I never had smoked, and it was just that was a season where it was so intense, and I kept seeing people just out on their front porches by themselves smoking, and I'd just be like, yes. I was like, that is what I'm missing. This solitude moment. So I didn't ever do it. I knew enough to know I didn't want to start that hobby.
Everyone, good news.
Just, you should know I didn't start that. But I did think of it often. But it was a moment like this because it was snowy and the windows were all lit up like this, like where the lights are on inside. And it was a bouncy castle, and you could just see these wild toddler static heads jumping in the window. And I was outside in the solitude in the cold snow being like, where is my cigarette? What I really need.
It's when she took to knitting, guys.
Pretty much. Not really. I was already... it was around ballpark the same time, though, that I was really getting into the knitting.
But, well, I should go probably clean up my soup night, and you have things to do. And
I do. I have a webinar in the morning.
I'm leaving town tomorrow on a quick trip, so I need to pack and stuff.
Yeah, so fare you all well.
Guys, next week we'll just try harder to
We're going to see if we can get enough energy
a little
and
bit gas. We're going to try and be a little bit more can't.
We are
No,
not.
you can't.
I can't. What? What? It's out of control. We're out of control.
This has been one car crash from beginning to end.
Next time, we'll talk
Next
to you.
time, we're going to try harder to be more organized, guys.
Goodbye.
And less
and
slap
good
happy.
night. All right, goodbye.
Bye.
I'm a 2009 graduate of New St. Andrews College, and I'm a commercial property manager.
3 kids at Logos, 1 at home still, and I do flowers on the side out of our house. When you have these little people that you're responsible to shepherd, you realize I need to know what I'm talking about because they need to have a firm foundation and they need deep roots so that they don't get blown over and that they're ready to stand up for the truth.
I am a programmer. The language aspect of NSA is a fantastic preparation for any sort of programming.
I'm a real estate broker here in town. I think absolutely the perfect education for being in sales of really any kind.
I actually put it to a lot of great use when I was working in the political realm.
I am a pastor in Central Coast, California. Whatever vocation you take, it'll make you take that seriously because you're seeing it through the lens of the sovereignty and lordship of Christ.
To learn more, visit us online at nsa.edu.